Alright, so I've reacted to this guy's videos before. Once with FGO Psyche. I'm actually subscribed to him, and you should subscribe to him as well. I'm really curious on what his thoughts are on Tribe 9. But I believe, I think this video came out, 9 days ago, which is before they announced all the big quality of life changes. So let's see if they can convince me to go down another gacha hellhole.
Tribe 9 is a gacha game that will not hold your hand. Dying over and over again while forced to learn a boss's attack patterns before finally succeeding is not an experience I had in mind when I jumped in.
Okay, so it's actually hard.
As a brutal action RPG, Tribe 9 has challenged me in a way that very few other mobile games have.
It's actually
Truly,
hard?
The Dark Souls of gacha games. As you know, Tribe 9 ranked number 4 in my top 5 most anticipated gacha games of 2025. Now that it's out, is it actually any good, and does it live up to my expectations? After over 15 hours of gameplay at launch, I'm going to be discussing and analyzing the game's mechanics, gacha system, overall quality, and so on from a first impressions perspective.
Okay, let's see what he has to say.
And it's time to take a trip to Neo Tokyo. Tribe 9 is developed by Tukio Games, a small team composed of Kazutaka Kodaka.
Oh, I get it, Tukio, because Tokyo Games is already a thing.
And Kotaro Ushikoshi, the writer for the Zero Escape series of point-and-click puzzle games. Worth mentioning that as a visual novel fan, I have played all of them. Both Danganronpa and Zero Escape are regarded to have some solid writing, and they both rank pretty highly in the top charts in the visual novels database. The character designs will bear a lot of resemblance to Danganronpa, but hey, that's just what gives it a unique charm. Tribe 9, alongside their new single-player RPG called 100 Lines Last Defense Academy, are their two new big projects coming out this year. The writers were known for making
I'm a little worried about that
games,
one, just from its concept.
Services. Being their first attempt, there's going to be some edges that need polishing, as we'll see later. But for now, let's check out what the game is about. You play as Yo Kuronaka, an ambitious teen that was prophesized to be
really like the 8-bit art style.
Demon King. However, aside from taking instructions from a mysterious goddess statue to perform menial tasks, he has never actually set foot outside the village. Feeling stumped, he decides to wander around and reunites with some of his lost friends. Yo finds out that he has lost most of his memory and was actually imprisoned inside this computer game simulation by the evil mastermind Zero. Split into many tribes across Neo Tokyo, Zero was an invader that was so powerful that he managed to beat everyone, claiming the city under his rule. In order to defeat Zero and restore the law, Yo would have to go around town and beat up his henchmen to become stronger. This is a vast oversimplification of the overall premise, but I will say it's one of the more intriguing ones I've seen in a gacha game story.
Interesting.
You have this omnipotent, all-powerful mascot antagonist that you know is the enemy, but you can't stop being enthralled by their unpredictable charisma. Where have we seen that before?
Monokuma!
While sometimes feel like they follow too closely to a certain trope, there's something about their designs and comedic expressions that makes these Danganronpa-esque characters feel artistically one of a kind. By the end of each chapter, there is a dramatic and over-the-top baseball match showdown with the antagonist, disguised as a
baseball match. What?
You can find all these clues while exploring the open world to get ammo for the debate. But why on earth would you use logic and reason when you can just gaslight the opponent?
Wait, what? There's Danganronpa-style debates in a gacha game?
Each character has different passives that will turn the tides in your favor, and I would have appreciated a way to replay these, since I feel like I wasn't able to grasp how some of the mechanics.
The hell? I never heard about this.
I followed the story up to the end of chapter 1, and while I would have loved to enjoy seeing the sides of the
I'm already interested.
as the plot unravels, Tribe 9 is also a gacha game, so I'm obviously going to have to review it based on that too. We'll start with the gameplay. You will assemble a team of 3 tribe members. They have their normal attack.
Must admit, this game looks a
lot
lot better on the
and a special
PC
attack that expands
than what
a
I've
separate
seen
gauge.
people
This gauge
sharing
is
on
filled in a way that's
iOS.
unique to the character, pretty much resembling the Forte meter from Withering Waves. You can dodge or counterattack, both using up stamina too. Now at first glance, the gameplay looks like a slight budget version of Z3, but Tribe 9 has one major difference. This game is hard, at least for a gacha game. For its full release, the difficulty was toned down for the early parts of the game, with
Really now, it had to
mechanics
get
play
nerfed.
in a more streamlined manner. Basically, as you play, you'll notice some major differences between combat in Tribe 9 versus other gacha ARPGs. First, when you commit to an attack, you cannot cancel out or do something else until the initial attack is completed.
Oh,
this makes your
yikes.
inputs feel more weighty and significant, as missing a counter or using a heavy attack right as the enemy is attacking will interrupt you and cause you to take damage. Stamina can be depleted really quickly, but it's also gained really quickly. Most heavier enemies will hit you pretty hard, forcing learning enemy movesets and understanding mechanics to be a more essential part of the
I guess
gameplay.
that's why...
Certain roadblocks, like the shark boss,
Wow.
actually reminded me of an encounter straight out of Dark Souls. You'll likely have to fail a couple times while learning its attack patterns and counter timings to find windows to punish the opponent. Tribe 9 is not a button masher. It takes away the flashy visuals and agile flow of Z3 and replaces it with something more methodical and sluggish. You'll often have to weigh the benefits whether to commit a heavy attack at the cost of becoming vulnerable.
Okay,
I
that...
really wouldn't say it's a downgraded version of Z3's combat. You just have to
That
approach it from a
act-
slightly different
They
angle.
changed it where you can
Another
cancel
unique
out
mechanic
certain
is the
attack.
tension
Okay,
gauge.
good.
Contrary to other gachas, characters don't equip weapons, but rather each team can carry up to 5 tension cards into combat. Tension cards give buffs when the tension gauge is filled to a certain extent, and you can do that by just landing attacks. For example, some cards will only become active when the gauge reaches
The shark
level
boss
1,
killed you many
2,
times,
or
Lane?
3. You can freely mix and match these.
Okay, I'm
and
not
if you
gonna
feel that
lie,
a team
I'm
will
getting
never reach
more
EX
and
tension,
more
then just don't run any
tempted to
cards that
try it,
require
'cause I didn't
Character
know it was
ults will
considered
also
hard.
expand tension, so while they're very powerful, your gauge will be reset, meaning that you will lose out on certain buffs until you can stack tension back up. The opponent also has their own gauge, and it's generally filled when you take damage. When it's full, certain enemies will unleash powerful attacks, and bosses can switch to a different
Oh,
moveset.
wow,
You either just have to
wow.
adapt to it,
They
or
fill
play
a gauge when they
defensively
hit
until it
you?
dies down.
Yikes.
The only complaint I had is that some attempts just felt like I stood a better chance because my off-field allies happened to take less hits. This means you're rewarded for playing well and punished for playing poorly. While this style is more hardcore, it may not be the most approachable for the general mobile game audience. The open world features pixel art sprites in a beautifully crafted fixed
Gosh,
3D
this is
environment.
gorgeous.
It's clear Tribe 9 has a decently high budget, and some of the team's best presentations are showcased here. The composer for the soundtrack is Masafumi Takada, the same one that composed the music for Danganronpa.
More and more
Characters
tempted to
move
try
around
it out.
expressively in the menus, and while the sudden animation stop is kinda jarring, it's not a big deal. The world of Neo Tokyo is littered with puzzles and side
Gosh,
quests
this video
for you
is
to
about to
explore,
have me
with
announce I'm
enemies having a
trying out the
detection
game
range that can be
tomorrow.
avoided if you absolutely don't want to fight them. Now, given that Tribe 9 is a live service game, it will have its ways to prolong your playtime and reinforce daily play. For one, there's no player level in the game, but there's a booklet where you collect stamps based on achievements and completion of certain activities. Character level caps are increased when you reach a certain threshold, and progression in the main story is halted until you collect enough stamps.
So, you level up via achievements? Huh. That's an interesting way to go about it.
This is honestly a double-edged sword. For one, beating the truly difficult bosses in the game is more skill-oriented, because there's just no way to overlevel and unlock better upgrades until you beat it. It also forces you to explore the open world and see more of the game. This is of course another bonus if you already enjoy exploring, but if you're just there for the story, don't expect a smooth journey as if it was an offline single-player game. Some of the tasks are also quite tedious, like completing dailies and clearing rift challenges a number of times.
Alright,
Defeating a
Lane,
number of enemies
did they
and buffing
change
up your
that?
team to a certain degree. I will argue that the game is story-oriented, so your progression will come to a stop whenever you encounter one of these gates. This is primarily here to extend your playtime to motivate you to come back every day. Characters can be leveled and their overall stats enhanced while providing a means to upgrade their skills and unlock passives. They can also equip artifacts called compatible monsters, or shortened as Patimon. Each has their own substats and set bonuses.
It's called Patimon?
One of these set substats will enhance a specific character's power. One plus side to the system is that when you get a Patimon, there's no need to level it. All the substats
I
come
see,
pre-attached.
Lane.
Of course, characters can also be limit broken by pulling more copies. Tension cards when you get a Patimon, there's
Did I just hear you can gain limit break without additional copies?
specific character's power. One plus side to the system is that when you get a Patimon, there's no need to level it. All the substats come pre-attached. Of course, characters can also be limit broken by pulling more copies. Tension cards do have ascensions that require upgrade materials and can also be limit broken. You can complete up to 3 daily commissions a day. It's technically optional, though it's highly
Tension cards back. I think I missed
substats
something.
won't enhance.
Because it made it sound like you're able to get like the equivalent of Eidolons or Constellations without pulling for characters. Extra copies, I mean.
A specific character's power. One plus side to the system is that when you get a Patimon, there's no need to level it. All the substats come pre-attached. Of course, characters can also be limit broken by pulling more copies. Tension cards do have ascensions that require upgrade materials and can also be limit broken. You can complete up to 3 daily commissions a day. It's technically optional, though it's highly recommended that you do all 3, since this is one of the main ways you get gacha currency. You can pick from a list so you're not stuck doing the same ones every day. Upon completing dailies,
I do like that there's a list.
You can claim 2 of these miniature TV things. This basically serves as the stamina system. You can store up to 30 of these and spend at any time, mostly by clearing rifts for upgrade materials. This means you can freely stockpile it and grind whenever you like. Well, to a certain extent, of course. These TVs are rewarded from the Battle
sounds
Pass,
pretty good.
in which there are other weekly and seasonal missions as well. If you beat Chapter 2, there's another challenge mode that grants a currency where you can...
Alright, let me read what Lane said. Okay, so potential gems can be gained by either ranking up the character available after Chapter 1 or pulling extra copies. You can't get extra copies other than rolling. Dang, I was hoping that means you could get the equivalent of Eidolons through pure gameplay.
can buy a skin with it. From what I can tell, all the purchasable ones here are just palette swaps. But hey, better than nothing, I guess. This brings us to the gacha. It's not a gacha game without, so how does it work? Rarity ranges from 1 to 3 stars. 3
Gosh! Oh, wait, this is actually, I guess... Oh, I guess this video came out after the announcement for changes. Yeah, appearance rate for the equivalent of 5 stars being 0.6, being even lower than FGO, I believe. Dang. Appearance rate after 2%? That's actually pretty good.
3 stars have a 2% chance of dropping, with the rate up split in a 75 and 25 coin flip in a 1.5%. The subsequent 3-star is guaranteed to be the rate up if you miss the 75%. 2-star rate ups are at 6% with a spook.
Well, that can
taking
also
the other
just be pure
25%,
luck, Lane.
meaning the combined total odds of pulling one is 8%, and the remaining 90% being the fodder 1-star cards. Pity is at 80 pulls, and I'm not sure if a soft pity exists. A pull costs 120 Enigma entity, so a guarantee rate of
Lane, does soft pity or hard pity exist?
Case scenario. 3-star tension cards have their separate banner with the exact same odds. You can pick from a standard character after pulling on that banner 300 times. The game says that you get one at random, but many believe that this is just an error and you do get to manually select one. These rates have been increased very recently, as they used to have Hoyoverse rates when the game first launched.
Hoyoverse
This would have
rates?
been a pretty big mistake.
Okay, yeah. I think if I remember correctly, Hoyoverse rates are typically actually worse than even FGO. It's just, it doesn't feel as bad because of the rates increasing after like 75 pulls, and also that 4-star you can get much more likely to be a character than a craft essence like an FGO.
As I don't think it can afford to be charging Hoyoverse rates without matching their quality. I have no problems with smaller indie developers going the gacha route, but the reason why players are willing to tolerate these rates is that Hoyoverse games are extremely high quality. Tribe 9 is certainly a high effort project, but it's just not quite there yet. Worth mentioning that during the first couple days at launch, the game sat at a mostly negative rating on Steam, with people complaining about the stinginess of the launch rewards. While they gave out a bunch of apology currency, the initial launch reward was a whopping 600 gacha tokens.
Alright, let me read what Lane said. From what I understand, there isn't a soft pity where it goes up after a certain amount. There is a hard pity at 80 and a guarantee if you lose the 75-25 chance. Oh, so its rates are just like how Honkai Star Rail handles the light cone banner.
Okay. Enough for just 5 pulls.
That's better than a 50-50.
The dailies were modified to give 120 tokens per day. Enough for 1 pull. Dailies didn't even give.
Although I'd argue at this point that I feel like we're at the point in gachas or new gachas coming out that it should just guarantee being the character and there's no 50-50 loss. It's just like just have a way to get the standard 5 stars. It's just like I don't know, man. With Wuthering Waves introducing the guaranteed weapon system, it's just like we should be beyond the path of 50-50s being in newer gachas. But that's just me.
Give any prior to that update. Chests found in the world do refresh every day, but they don't give gacha tokens and only provide minimal rewards each.
Daily missions give you 1 pull a day without the need of a daily pass.
Over the course of a month, the cash shop that sells paid currency. The battle pass has a premium track that offers some additional skins. It costs 600 paid Enigma entities, which translates to about $7. If you consider that you can...
Oh, it's only $7? It's actually cheaper than a regular battle pass. Wuthering Waves is looking less and less tempting because I enjoy Wuthering Waves, but I also enjoy Genshin, and I'd like a little bit of variety in what I play.
Can also save up enough from the currency given from monthly supplies. This is actually not bad at all. The overall monetization feels rather basic, but I have virtually no complaints for a game of this scale. It's just fairly typical for a gacha game. In a hyper-competitive market, do I think Tribe 9 stands a chance? Kind of. It would depend on how update cycles and events go. Given that 2Kyo Games has never made a gacha game before, there's gonna be some inconveniences before they iron some things out. For one, there's no autoplay. Completing dailies will require you to physically travel to the locations to perform them, though to be fair, it doesn't really take that long. The rifts are procedurally generated dungeons that consume stamina. You have to manually go through the level and fight the boss at the end. There's no sweeping feature as of now. During launch week, there was no additional event happening aside from the login bonuses. I hope this is something that can be worked on, as it doesn't feel like the game has a lot going with events. Maybe a mini story of the cast exploring the first city area or a short challenge stage. Usually there's something that deviates from the normal gameplay loop.
The game doesn't have like any event stories so far?
This is one aspect Tribe 9 would also have to consider. Something else I feel is a problem not just in Tribe 9, but Japanese gacha games in general, is that certain mechanics are just not explained very well to you. There's a break system during combat where if you inflict enough break points on an enemy, they become staggered and you can do a chain attack with your allies. Except there's no bar or gauge on the UI to indicate the break meter at all. Characters also have their gimmicks explained with keywords. This is not inherently bad as it condenses text in the descriptions. You can click on a keyword to see the explanation of how it works. Except if there's another keyword within the explanation, you can't see that for some reason. Despite this, I actually have a lot of confidence in 2Kyo games here. Souls-like combat and gacha just don't mesh well on paper, but they just might be able to pull it off. Many changes have been made up until the full release, and the week after that, I feel they were able to turn it around. I originally had a lot of skepticism had they kept the Hoyoverse rates and didn't implement certain equality.
Before he continues, I will agree. One of the things that made me not want to even give this game a shot was the fact that, oh, it's just going to be like other gacha games where the company doesn't listen to the players' complaints, but the fact that they listened that quickly and adjusted the rates that quickly gives me confidence in, okay, no, they actually want to make a really good game.
Quality of life features. Given what we know so far, I wouldn't say it's unreasonable that the developers will be taking certain feedback to make the game better.
Which I really like.
Is easily the highlight of Tribe 9. Some people would argue that this is just a single-player game in a gacha disguise, and you can still have a lot of fun going through the story. Just use what they give out, sit back, and enjoy the show. So this is where I think going the gacha route has many distinctions from a single-player approach. If you're going to argue that people should just be playing this as a single-player game, I'd say do that. Don't play it now. Wait until the entire story is finished, treat it as a single-player experience where you enjoy the world building and narratives.
See, there's a problem with that train of thought. The only time you're gonna be able to enjoy it as a full single-player game is if the game doesn't do well and they release the game as is, as a full, like, $40 release title like Mega Man X Dive did, which I don't want that to happen for the game. Especially that they're actually listening to feedback. And I will say now, it's always better to start a gacha sooner rather than later, because you have quite a bit to catch up on, and there's events, lore you miss out and such. Like, let's look at Genshin, and oh man, I feel bad for people that don't have the festering desire. And I feel bad for me missing out on so many events in Honkai Impact 3rd. But it is what it is.
Complete it and move on with your life. The main barrier that prevents me from making it one of my ongoing games is due to how restricted progression feels. Even if you just want to play it for the story, you're forced to explore the open world and spend time on side activities. The team behind it has a history of making murder mystery and puzzle games, not gacha. However, I think this ambitious blend of hardcore gameplay with a wacky and expressive cast is what will draw in a lot of players. There's a lot of good things that it does with its characters and design. Nothing quite
so
like
all
it
three of you
exists on the
think
market
it
right
feels
now,
like a
but given
standalone
there's so
game
many
more
new
than
gachas to
anything.
pick from, it may not be enough to make it your forever game. One of the more recent examples of great game probably shouldn't have been a gacha. Tribe 9 gets my first impressions rating of try it. That's it for the review. Let me know if 2Kyo Games' next project caught your eye and whether you'll be trying it out. If you want to
I
see
think
more
I will
gacha
actually
related
try this
content,
out.
you know what to do.
Chat. Would you want to see me give this game a shot? If I do that, I'm basically going to be dropping Wuthering Waves, unless this gacha doesn't take up that much of my time.
As always, thank you for watching, and have fun out there.
Okay, that was a really, really good video that honestly really has me tempted to give the game a shot. Really depends on how you feel about it and the vibe. I mean, I love Danganronpa. I absolutely love Danganronpa. I've played all the games except for the summer one, but I don't really count that. Yeah, this was a really good video. This was a very good video. Psyche, you always make good videos, and spoiler alert for the next video. I'm really curious what you have to say about Honkai Impact 3rd.